for the team.
Alright guys, with the global crisis going on in the world today, a lot of aspects of our everyday lives are either being compromised or put on hold altogether. This includes leisure activities and entertainment, and unfortunately for us, this also includes upcoming MMA events. Now, with a lot of us being stuck at home either because we're on lockdown or self-quarantining, we're all going to be looking for some form of entertainment, and with no sports, no live events, and everything else on TV being complete garbage, a lot of us will be flocking over to YouTube, and if you're watching this video, I can only assume that you're an MMA fan. Now, one of my favorite things to do when I had just started becoming a fan of MMA, on top of reading up on MMA news or watching fighter interviews, was to watch MMA related content on YouTube to get a different perspective from fans of the sport, whether they actually practice the sport or not. These vids usually weren't edited and looked very rough by today's standards, but they were all I needed at the time. Just real fans sharing their thoughts. Some gave an excellent analysis, some gave unusual perspectives, and some were downright over the top. But I felt that most of them had something to offer, and they really helped me appreciate the sport that much more. Over time, pretty much all of my favorite channels from the past either stopped putting out content or completely vanished from the site altogether. However, that doesn't mean that there aren't plenty of excellent channels out there today that are waiting to be discovered and certainly are worth your time and attention. So with that, I've decided to spotlight some of my favorite channels on the site today and give you a preview of some of their content. I encourage you to check these guys out for yourself, and if you like what you see, help them grow their platform by liking their vids, subscribing to their channels, and sharing your thoughts in their comment section, because just like myself, they're all looking for interactions with real fight fans, and in the end, that's what we all started making content for in the first place.
Whilst I think Kevin Lee can win this fight if he plays a very tactical game, clinches up with Charles Oliveira, uses his wrestling to negate his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and lands them dirty punches in the clinch and uses his size to kind of ragdoll him but avoid all grappling exchanges as and when possible. I think he has a path to victory, but on the feet I see Charles Oliveira outstriking him, particularly as the fight goes on, and on the ground I see Charles Oliveira attacking him so much that I believe it's going to make Kevin Lee gas. I believe Charles Oliveira's aggression and the danger that he brings in every realm of this fight is going to be another thing that impacts Kevin Lee's conditioning, and this is going to be the kind of fight that Charles Oliveira excels in. So fight fans, for my official prediction, I'm going to take that Charles Oliveira turns out to be too dangerous for Kevin Lee on both the feet and the ground. It makes him exhausted, and whilst I assume Kevin Lee will have a lot of success earlier, I believe as the fight goes on, Charles Oliveira is going to start to take over, and we're going to see a submission in rounds 3 or 4. So fight fans, for my official prediction, I'm going with Charles Oliveira to get a submission in rounds 3 or 4.
Part of Israel's takedown defense stems from his stance. He switches his stance a lot, from southpaw to orthodox, which can mess with guys who try to shoot single legs. He keeps his hands relatively low, which helps him quickly counter double leg attempts and guys trying to initiate a clinch of some kind. Having low hands can raise your chances of ending up with double underhooks, which can be used to prevent someone from changing levels. Unfortunately, the drawback of having a lower guard is that he needs to rely a lot on head movement to evade strikes. So if he's leaning back out of the range of a punch, his hips and legs may be easier to grab. So guys who throw strikes just before attempting a takedown will usually have more success. However, Adesanya does sort of balance that flaw out by having an excellent sprawl. If you shoot from too far away, you're less likely to take somebody down. This is a known fact. But some guys don't have much of a choice when they're kept at range by the Nigerian's long-range jabs and kicks. The guys who have found a way around his sprawl are those who have chained combinations of takedowns together and overwhelmed him in that way. Overall, I think Israel's takedown defense may not be the greatest, but I think it's still strong enough to keep him where he wants to be a majority of the time. I'm going to give him a 7 out of 10.
That Joanna had, Weili Zhang had her eyes had completely closed up. She was fighting off instinct at the end. Jeez, it must have been at the end of the second or third round, and nobody's talking about this. Weili Zhang's trainers could see how drained and physically beaten she was. They were carrying her to the stool, and I don't mean they were putting her arm over the shoulder and lifting her towards the stool, guys. The trainer came in and physically lifted her up and carried her to the stool. This was just a crazy scene to watch unfold, and this is why it's so important to watch these fights live. This is why the live stream is so important, because we get to witness history as it happens, guys. You know, and that for me was one of the most memorable The most memorable female fight I have ever seen. I won't forget that fight in a minute. I'm going to talk about it for years. I think the heart, the will to win from Joanna Jędrzejczyk and Weili Zhang was unbelievable. I think if there was ever a fight where we could give both women a belt, maybe we should have gave them both a belt that night.
Well, he needs to be precise, clean, fast. He needs to get in fast. Just outwork Donald from the start, because of course Donald's a slow starter, always has been. But that doesn't take long. It only takes a round. So I can just see McGregor going straight for him. I can't really see Donald even going for a takedown at first, because it's not really his game. But he will go for it at some stage. It could leave open for Conor with knees. It's just a hard fight to call. If it goes into the distance, Donald is very dangerous if it gets them to the ground. But I'm just going to go for Conor. I just think he might just be too quick in the first couple of rounds against Donald. And I think in the first couple of rounds, 2-3 rounds, I think Conor McGregor might just stop Donald Cerrone. I think the quickness, the speed will probably tell in the end. But if it gets into the depth, or of course if it gets on the ground, he's in problems. But Conor McGregor to win that one by knockout in the second, third round, around the middle anyway. But then we move on to the bantam.
For my prediction, though, I am going to have to go with Charles Oliveira. I think that Kevin Lee's only path to victory here is to knock him out, and I don't think it's going to happen. I mean, it could always happen, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think Oliveira will just outwork him on the feet completely, maybe annoy Kevin to the point where he'll shoot in for a takedown, likely being a little bit tired, and Oliveira will sneak in his submission. So, not only do I have Oliveira winning this, but I have him winning by submission. Now, everything I've talked about Kevin Lee having problems with, he totally could have improved on in TriStar, but we haven't seen it, so I can't really say for sure. So, again, I have Charles Oliveira winning this fight. I'm really torn on who to cheer for in this fight. On one hand, I am a huge Oliveira fan because I've been watching him since the beginning. I've always loved his style. I've always liked seeing him win. I just liked seeing his success in the UFC and him overcoming adversity, all that. Just followed his career, been a big fan of him. But on the other side of the coin, Kevin Lee really grew on me. When he first came into the UFC trying to be like Conor and all that, I didn't dislike him, but I didn't really care for him. I thought a lot of what he was doing was just cringy. But after seeing the real Kevin Lee, like on Joe Rogan's podcast, for example, I really became a fan of him. I really like Kevin Lee when he's not putting on an act. Since I've got to know the real Kevin Lee, I've become quite a fan of his. But anyways, I'll stop talking now. I'm going to put an end to the video today. What do you...
I know I've been hyping up Dominic Reyes, but I'm still not sold on the fact that he's going to beat Jon Jones. Let's be real for a minute. Jon Jones is already a GOAT. He's already has his legend solidified. He's kind of like Conor McGregor, where he's a polarizing figure and has done a lot of wrong outside the cage, but a lot of right inside of it, if you know what I mean. But with that being said, I do feel like Dominic Reyes poses a lot of threats in this fight. He's shown to have really high level fight IQ, some elite level striking. He has the height, which we've seen Jon Jones struggle with before. He's athletic just like Jon Jones, and he's shown to have pretty moderate takedown defense. Now, will all that be enough to beat Jon Jones? I don't know. We're gonna have to wait and find out together. But in Jon Jones' defense, he hasn't struggled with a tall, lengthy striker since the Gustafsson fight, and he was kind of looking past Gustafsson. And he's also busy with a lot of extracurricular activities, if you know what I mean. But I don't really feel like he's looking past Dominic Reyes. Wait, is he?
Jorge Masvidal fans are the exact thing they said that they hated. They started off hating the theatrics of the WWE world, and they themselves became it. You can't wear a Versace robe that someone else wore a year ago and then ask them to fight you in the same breath. I'm sorry, those are the rules. I didn't make them up. If anybody else did that, you guys would be clowning them relentlessly. I won't have it. Valentina Shevchenko fans think they're so hard, but they are honestly nice and gentle on the inside. You're not fooling anybody. You're not fooling me. You're not fooling anybody watching the video. So just be yourself. Rose Namajunas fans are emotional and prone to make decisions that they will regret later in life. See, when they have their emotions and their irrational behaviors under control, they can do positive things. They can do great things. In fact, they are probably the greatest people on the planet as far as their niceness and their soul and their heart is concerned. But guess what? You make dumb choices. It's not my fault. Jon Jones fans, you people are typically the gifted ones earlier on in life, and you get away with everything. No one holds you accountable, and you make excuses for why you do what you do. Well, guess what? The rest of us aren't falling for it anymore. We see through the facade. Stop acting holier than thou. That's all I gotta say.
It took all of 40 seconds for Conor McGregor to go in there and do exactly what he said he would do. He straight up just beat that ass, did he not?
He straight up beat that ass.
Poor Cowboy. Oh my God. Yeah, sorry.
No, it's all good. Yeah, we predicted that first round finish, but I don't think we predicted a first minute knockout. And I'm not gonna lie. So when the fight started, if you notice, Conor right away threw a left hand straight for Cowboy's face. I'm pretty sure he was going for the knockout right away. Do you notice that?
Yeah, right away. And you know what? To that point, I watched an interview with Conor, obviously, and he was discussing the fact that he was expecting Cowboy to like duck under the left hand. That's why the knee came up after.
Yeah.
Because he noticed that with Darren Till, who's a southpaw, and he noticed that with Robbie Lawler when he watched Donald fight, you know, obviously. Robbie Lawler and Darren Till. He's like,
smart.
oh, I saw him like duck under the left hand. That's why I knew the knee would be there.
So something in Frankie's style and his movements, Max saw like a chink in the armor and a home for that uppercut. Max pretty much stuffed all takedowns, and the times that he did get taken down, he managed to get back up to his feet, which I knew was discouraging to Edgar. Frankie's cardio looked on point. He was in great shape. He didn't look particularly gassed at the end of the fight. He did look frustrated. Edgar loves to finish his combos with the right over the top, and Max was really prepared for Edgar's tendencies, his tricks, and combinations. Another one of Frankie's go-tos, he shoots for a takedown or engages in a clinch, and if you really watch Edgar's fights, most of the time on the break he throws an overhand right. Max was waiting for it every time and either deflected it with his shoulder, just stepped out of range, or blocked and countered. Holloway looked so comfortable in the cage, just stalking Edgar, hands down, flicking the jab, just a masterful performance by Max Holloway.
He does have some kicks at times, but mainly he really wants to be that mid-distance. That's where he's best at. So I think Figueiredo's range is a little bit longer, and he can generate power from longer ranges because Benavidez' a lot of his power generates from load-up shots because you're worried about he loads it up because he knows you're respecting his wrestling. Are you really just respecting everything he brings, and he's kind of awkward with what he does. But yeah, to kind of get to the point, like I said, I think Benavidez definitely has the more well-rounded fighter, definitely much more accomplished. I think definitely, in my opinion, it's the better fighter, in my opinion. But stylistically wise, I think this fight favors Figueiredo. I don't think Benavidez can control him for too long in this fight. Now they're going to defeat Figueiredo, just packs more power, and he's just the cleaner, crisper striker. So really, that's how I kind of see it goes down. I think close competitive fight through three. Then I think around the fourth round, I think that's when Figueiredo puts Benavidez away, starts to really put that power on him, starts to figure him out, starts to that awkwardness starts to kind of become more clear what he's doing, what he's working with. Then when that happens, like the fight starts to settle down, then Figueiredo really starts to find his punches and starts to land him on the mark. And I think he puts Benavidez away in that fourth round. So in this fight, I got Deiveson Figueiredo via fourth round TKO.
I'm only doing this video for one reason, and the last video, and the video before that, and the 180 before that, is because MMA is important. Peace.